this video is to explain the use of avoir and être as auxiliaries to form the passé composé in French. And all this information is taken from the French grammar guide available for free at Bon Patron in the grammar section. Now, most verbs use avoir to form the passé composé. So for example here, j'ai mangé une pomme. Right, this is a typical one. The vast majority of verbs will use avoir to form the passé composé. But there are quite a few frequent verbs, and these are verbs, call them intransitives, because they don't take a direct object, right? So unlike manger, you eat something, or to see, you see something. These are verbs that really are not followed by a noun. Okay? Now the list can be quite long depending on whose analysis you look at, but here's a relatively simple list based on this sequence here, raven stamp. So these are the words you'll read, the verbs you'll need to know in terms of which verbs are going to be conjugated with être instead of avoir. Right? So here we see, of course, it's je suis allé, il est resté, elle est arrivée, nous sommes partis. Right? Now, even within this group, some of them occasionally will take avoir, and that's when they have a noun after them, as I said. This group does form a cohesive whole in as much as they tend not to be followed by nouns. But you still need to learn the list, right, of these verbs that are conjugated with être in the passé composé. Note also that pronominal verbs, these are verbs that must appear with one of these pronouns as part of the infinitive. When you use them in the passé composé, they are always conjugated with être. So let's look at some questions that arise in the use of the auxiliaries avoir and être. I'm going to click right here in the question section. And this will bring me to a list of errors and correct usage for you to consider, right? You should be able to look at these and understand now what the problem is and recognize that these are errors you need to avoid when you are writing in French. Okay? So have a look at that and make sure you can answer these questions correctly. Why is it this and not that? In addition, you'll have some exercises here to go through. And here is a fairly thorough list of exercises to make sure you are using the right auxiliary here. Right? So if you look at the first one, what is it? Well, this is partir, that's part of that group. So we're going to use the form that corresponds to mes amis. Let's see if it's right. Yes, it is. So go through all of these, or have your students go through all of these, and make sure they are correctly using avoir and être in the passé composé. If you want, you can also go over to the grammar checker Bon Patron and make your own sentences, talk about past events, the things you did yesterday, and see whether you're using it correctly. So for example, can you write, I arrived like this. Here's my accent. No, Bon Patron tells you, no, this is a verb that you need to use être with. So make your own sentences up, make your own stories about the past, go through the grammar guide, and I think you'll have a very good understanding of when to use être and when to use avoir in the passé composé.